so they say that HIIT cardio, because it creates this quote unquote afterburn, is far more efficient and superior to LISS cardio. But is that true? Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, where armor is forged through mental, spiritual, and physical preparation. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, my friends. I am Carl Wimmer, your host, and I am so glad you are joining me here again today for another episode, another day of learning and progressing and improving on what we want in life. That is why we are here at First Responder Fitness. We want to make sure you are mentally, physically, spiritually strong. We want to make sure that you are living your best life now, but not only now, but living your best life now so that you can live your best life in those last 30, 40, 50 years of retirement, however long you spend in retirement, however many years you spend after your career doing what you want to do. Super excited for yet another day, another chance to improve. And that's really what we're about. In fact, if you have been following our other videos, our program, which is Habits to Healthy in 1 year, Habits to Healthy in 12 months. If you've been following that program, you'll see that these are micro goals that we're setting up. They are so basic, yet so fundamentally important. And so I hope you've been following that. If you haven't, go to our YouTube page and look at the playlist of Habits to Healthy in 1 year. Start following along, change your metabolic health, and change your future. I am super excited about this episode because we are going to tackle something that is so popular. We're going to be talking about something that is all the rage right now, and it's important that we set this up and explain why it's important. Today, we are going to peel back all of the rhetoric, the nonsense, and look at the facts surrounding the never-ending debate between HIIT training and LISS training. What is HIIT? What is LISS? Well, we're going to get into that. But for now, HIIT, of course, is high-intensity interval training. LISS is low-intensity steady-state training. And there are strong advocates with strong feelings on both sides of this issue. And so we are going to be discussing which model of exercise is best for you, especially if you are a first responder, if you are a police officer, if you are a firefighter. Is HIIT training better for you, or is low intensity steady state training better for you in the long run? We're going to parse that out and separate fact from fiction and give you the plain truth today on First Responder Fitness. But first, we need to talk about why it matters. Why does this matter to us? Why does it matter what is best for us as first responders? Why does it matter what is best for us as people who are interested in fitness? See, you don't have to be a police officer or a firefighter for this information to be absolutely, completely relevant to your life. So why does this debate matter? Well, it matters because our health and our fitness matters. If you are depending on your health and your fitness for your career, in your career, as a police officer, where you might have to chase somebody, you might have to fight with somebody to get them arrested, or as a firefighter where you are pulling hose and you are fighting fires, you are knocking down doors and you're checking ceilings and you're possibly dragging your partner out of a dangerous situation, and you're possibly on your feet for hours on end, especially if you're a wildlands firefighter, then these things are so relevant to us. They are important for our survival, but they're important for the survival of anyone who's interested in fitness. And so I want to get into the weeds with this and find out what is best for us. First, let's talk about HIIT training. the high intensity interval training. It is all the rage right now. And it has been, I would say, for the last 25, maybe 30 years. I will never forget the first time I was an old subscriber to, if some of you will recognize this magazine, but Muscle Media 2000. It was Bill Phillips. It came from his businesses and his brain trust. Bill Phillips created Muscle Media 2000. I'll never forget the magazine that came in the mail and how it talked about this high intensity interval training and talked about really something that our junior high PE coaches talked about and had us do. But basically, at the end of the day, it talked about how you can burn more fat if you go out and you do this interval training. You for instance, if you're going to go jogging the track, you would sprint the straightaways and jog the curves, and sprint the straightaways and jog the curves. And that this burned more calories. That this was the new and improved scientific proven method for burning calories. Basically, HIIT training, as it's defined today, is basically circuit training. It's short bursts of intense effort, followed by rest. So you have an interval timer, and you might do 45 seconds of an exercise and then rest for 30 seconds and then do 45 seconds and rest 30 seconds. Okay, that's fine. The biggest issue with HIIT training today is that most people are not working hard enough during the 45 seconds of work. So it's really not high intensity interval training. It's more of interval training than anything else. But let's forget that for a minute, and let's just focus on what the common person refers to as HIIT training, which is higher intensity exercise by 30 seconds of rest, or a period of rest followed by higher intensity exercise. These could include burpees. It could include kettlebell swings, sled pushes, battle ropes, all of these various exercises that really get your heart rate beating, gets you breathing heavy, and really gets you really fatigued. And over the last 20 to 30 years, HIIT training has developed almost a cult-like following, a following of people who think it is the absolute best way, only way to lose fat. It's the best way to lose fat, best way to burn fat, best way to get in shape, best way to look good, best way to build muscle. And are they right? On the opposite side of HIIT training is LISS training, low intensity, steady state cardiovascular training. And make no mistake, both of these are a type of cardiovascular exercise. And they can work and do work different aerobic systems. And I think that's important, and we'll get into that here in just a bit. But basically, LISS training is low intensity, steady state cardio. Think of going for a walk. That's really low intensity, but think of going for a walk. Think of rucking, putting on a heavy backpack and going rucking for an hour. Slow jogging, cycling, the elliptical machine, the treadmill. All of these, are low intensity, steady state cardiovascular exercises. You usually do them for a longer period of time without stopping. You usually do them in for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. And so that is your low intensity, steady state cardiovascular exercise. And, you sit here and think, if you've ever done either, I have vacillated back and forth. I have spent many months, if not years, being a HIIT focused exerciser. And I have spent many years being a LISS focused exerciser. And I've done both. I've mixed them both together. I've done both. I've seen both. But what does the science say? HIIT advocates claim that the HIIT cardio boosts your metabolism for hours after the exercise. So your 20-minute high-intensity interval training exercise continues to burn massive, it like stokes your furnace and burns calories and burns exercise and burns calories and continues to keep your metabolism jacked up for hours and hours and hours after the exercise. And so they say that HIIT cardio, because it creates this quote unquote afterburn, is far more efficient and superior to LISS cardio. But is that true? The science says no. Absolutely, unequivocally, that is not true. Yes, HIIT training does create EPOC, which is exercise post-oxygen consumption. That's what you call the afterburn, EPOC. And EPOC does continue to burn calories after you exercise. Most studies, if you do the research, especially some of the detailed studies that you can find, Knab and his Dr. Knab and his researchers in 2011 determined that EPOC, exercise post-oxygen consumption, burns roughly 6 to 15% more calories. You continue to burn approximately 6 to 15% of what you burn during the exercise. Multiple meta-analysis by Keating in 2017 and published in Obesity Reviews showed that HIIT cardio really doesn't benefit you as far as fat loss over time any more than LISS cardio. In fact, the afterburn happens after LISS cardio as well. Your body continues to burn calories after an hour-long jog. It continues to burn calories. It's just the exercise post-oxygen consumption. You do any kind of exercise that causes you to go into the aerobic pathway of any type. After the exercise, your body continues to burn calories for a short period of time, but it's a small, minor, infinitesimally small amount of calories in total when we're talking about exercise. And so the afterburn effect of HIIT is absolutely overhyped. So does that make HIIT useless or ineffective or a waste of time? Absolutely not. But does it burn more fat? The fact is, no, it does not burn more fat. Every major research study that has compared HIIT to LISS shows that when calories are matched, HIIT does not outperform LISS, and LISS does not outperform HIIT. In fact, Dr. Schoenfeld, who I quote many times on this show, in 2015, published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, said that HIIT does not outperform LISS in fat loss when calories are matched. What does that mean? We've talked about this a lot on this show. Calories in, calories out. If you consume more calories than you're burning, you're going to get fatter. If you consume less calories than you take in, you're going to lose fat. And so when calories are equated, and when calories burned are equated, HIIT and LISS have exactly the same benefit when it comes to fat loss. You're simply not burning an insane amount of extra fat because you do high-intensity interval training rather than low-intensity steady-state training. HIIT advocates also talk about the time efficiency, because you can go in and do a 20-minute HIIT workout, and because of that exercise post oxygen consumption, the afterburn, you continue. It's just like doing an hour of jogging. Well, it's not. It's absolutely not. An hour of jogging will always, always, every time, no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what, as long as you are a human being living in the known universe under the universal laws of the universe, an hour of jogging will always burn more than a 15 or 20-minute HIIT exercise, interval exercise routine. Absolutely. Every time, for every human, every time. The reality is fat loss is about total energy balance. That's it. And in that area, LISS might have advantages that HIIT can't touch. But I'm not, I know that right now it sounds like I'm down on HIIT. I'm not. I'm just giving you the reality, kind of bringing this entire hyperbolic idea behind HIIT. I'm just bringing it back down to earth to make you realize that just because you do HIIT does not mean that you're getting super excess calorie burn, and just because you don't do HIIT doesn't mean that you're missing the boat. So let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages to both, because there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I want to talk about LISS for just a second, then we're going to get into advantages and disadvantages. But in reference to LISS training, in a study in 2012 by Rosenkilde and all the people that were working with him, and this article was published in the American Journal of Physiology and Endocrinology, they found that moderate intensity, steady state cardio led to greater total fat loss than shorter HIIT workouts over a 13 weeks period of time. So this moderate intensity, steady state cardio led to greater total fat loss than short HIIT workouts. And ultimately, the reason why is because LISS allows for longer workouts. The longer you're moving your body, the longer you're exercising, means more total calorie expenditure. And when it comes to fat loss, total calorie expenditure and being in a calorie deficit is the only way. It is the king. It is the way to do it. So again, I don't want to look like I'm down on HIIT and high on LISS, because in fact, there are advantages to both. And what are some of those advantages? Well, first of all, if you're a HIIT advocate, you do have the advantage of shorter workouts. You can go into the gym, and if you are, let's say you're doing weight training 3 days a week, and you're doing cardio every other day, the days you're not lifting, you can go in and you can do a cardiovascular HIIT workout in 20, 25 minutes and get tremendous fat burning cardiovascular benefit from doing that. You can, so you can get more exercise. Well, you can get exercise, good cardiovascular exercise in a shorter period of time. So that is true, especially if your schedule is limited. You go in and do 10 rounds of burpees. You do a minute of burpees and then rest for 30 seconds, and a minute of burpees and rest 30 seconds. You do that for 10 minutes. By the time that 10 minutes is up, you are exhausted. And then if you added in battle ropes, if you added in sled pulls or sled pushes or kettlebells, any of those types of things, you're going to get one intense, insane workout in 20, 25 minutes or less, and you'll be dead and you'll be ready to crawl out the door and go about your business. So that's a major advantage to high intensity interval training. Whereas if you were doing LISS training, you would come into the gym and you'd walk on the treadmill for a half an hour for 45 minutes, maybe ride on the stationary bicycle for 20 minutes. You'd do an hour-long worth of cardiovascular exercise. You've burned every bit as many calories as the HIIT guy that was there, but you did spend more time in the gym. So there's definitely the advantage of time savings. It's not as much as what you'd think, because 20 minutes of HIIT does not equal an hour of LISS. It just doesn't. But all things being equal, you do save time doing high-intensity interval training. Second advantage of high-intensity interval training is, frankly, sometimes LISS training is just freaking boring. I mean, how long can you stand there on the elliptical doing this? right now, and for a substantial period of time now, that has been my primary cardiovascular focus, is the elliptical machine. I do a lot. I mix things up, but I'm always on the elliptical, and I'm on there for a lengthy period of time, and it gets boring. And some of you don't have the attention span, and I get it. Some of you would rather eat glass than be on an elliptical machine for 45 minutes, or on a treadmill for an hour, or go for a jog for an hour. I get it. I absolutely get that. And so the fact is, high intensity interval training is not as boring as low intensity steady state training. I absolutely, no question about it. Now, some of you joggers who chase that mythical joggers high. I know it's not mythical. I used to, when I was boxing, when I was fighting, I did a lot of road work, and I understand the joggers high, the high you get from jogging long periods of time. But boy, you got to be in shape for that. It takes a long time of consistent jogging before you get that runner's high. But so please don't lynch me in the comments about picking on the boredom of LISS training. I'm talking about the average general person. So there are advantages to HIIT training. There are also advantages to low intensity steady state training. And some of those advantages include the fact that over time you do burn more calories. If you have the time to put into it, you burn more calories than your HIIT partner. So that's a big advantage if you're trying to lose fat, if you're trying to lose that gut. It's a big advantage. The second advantage is it is less fatiguing. At my age, I would have a very difficult time doing a full-blown weightlifting, strength training workout, and then following it up, because I like to do my cardio and my weight training on the same day, because I work out 6 days a week. And so it would be very hard for me to follow up a heavy weight training workout with now a high intensity interval aerobic exercise. That would be too much, and it eventually would it would burn out my nervous system. I know that for certain. When I was younger, maybe I could have done that, but now that I'm dang near 50 years old, there's no chance that I can do that. And so there is only so much intensity and time that you can put into something. Generally speaking, the longer something goes, the less intense it has to be. That's just the way it is. If you're super intense, it cannot be super long. If it's super long, by its very nature, it will not be super intense. And so because my weight training is very intense, I am an intense weightlifter going to failure on almost every single set, every single time, doing triple drops. I implement triple drops. I implement supersets. I am very intense in my weight training. I would not be able to do a high intensity interval training session afterwards that was worth anything. So I might as well just do the LISS training. Another advantage to LISS training, low intensity steady state training, is that it saves your joints and it's easier on your body. Over the long run, it's easier on your body. Going for a walk, walking on the treadmill, doing the elliptical machine, riding a bicycle, going swimming for an hour is so much better on your joints, so much less abusive and dynamic on your body. That is a huge advantage when it comes to exercising for life. Now, let's state up front right now that as a police officer, as a firefighter, you need to have the ability to handle ballistic forces, ballistic pressure. If you're in a fight, you need to be able to handle ballistic dynamic things. And so LISS training may not prepare your tendons, your joints, and everything else for dynamic, explosive pressures that happen to you when you're on duty as a fireman or a policeman or as a person in everyday life. That's why weight training is so important and why weight training should be preeminent. At the end of the day, what is best for you as a first responder? What is best for you as a firefighter, a police officer? And what is best for you as a person? First and foremost, first responders need aerobic endurance. You've got to have aerobic endurance. I did not have aerobic endurance. I did not have superior aerobic endurance ever during my career. I was not out of shape, but I was so big because I was competing in powerlifting at the time. I was so big that during our SWAT training, during SWAT Hell Week, during the SWAT schools, it took everything I could to get through the cardiovascular portions of those things, to get through the jogging, to get through the running test, to get through all of that. When it came to the strength side of things, that was my forte. But really, I should have been in better cardiovascular aerobic shape during my career, and I wasn't. I really wish I had been. So you've got to have aerobic endurance as a police officer and a firefighter. And so LISS training is the king of aerobic endurance. Low intensity, steady state cardiovascular exercise is king when it comes to aerobic endurance. It makes it's easier to recover and it's more sustainable. You can keep it up without frying yourself. Like I said, frying your nervous system. It's just better aerobic exercise for the aerobic system. Okay. However, you have also got to be able to handle extremely intense, hard moments of intense exercise. For instance, you're in a foot pursuit. A foot pursuit is not a slow jog. A foot pursuit in an ideal world is 30 seconds, 45 seconds, maybe a minute of all out, full on exertion, might I mention, while wearing a gun belt and a ballistic vest that's making it hard for you to breathe. And hopefully it's over in a minute, minute and a half. Or maybe you're in a fight and hopefully that fight never lasts more than a minute and you get it under control. But to train for those things, high intensity interval training just might actually be what the doctor ordered. Not only does it help you with the ballistic dynamics of a fight or a foot pursuit, but it helps you to function at very high intense levels for a short period of time. So our suggestion at First Responder Fitness is simply this: implement both into your exercise routine. And I know that you're like, oh, you're taking the easy way out, Wimmer, by not picking one over the other. That's because they both serve different purposes. They are both critically important. The way I do it is I base my cardiovascular exercise on low intensity, steady state cardio. But at least twice a week, I like to do high intensity interval training. And I usually go longer. In most cases, I usually go longer than 30 seconds or 45 seconds. I usually go into VO2 max level training, which allows me to work out hard for, let's say the interval is now 3 minutes. 3 minutes as hard as I can go for 3 minutes. No, I'm not going as hard as I can for 45 seconds because I'd be dead after 3 minutes. But I go as hard as I can for 3 minutes and then I lay off, or maybe 2 minutes and then I lay off. Maybe 4 minutes and then I lay off and I take a rest. And then I do that again and then I rest off. A very common one is the 4x4, where you do 4 minutes of hard work, followed by a minute rest, followed by 4 minutes of hard work, and you do that for 4 cycles. That helps your VO2 max, which if you don't know what VO2 max is, we have a video breakdown on that. Go back, look in our archives on YouTube or Spotify and listen to the VO2 max. It is absolutely one of the most important exercise systems, aerobic systems that you need to work out for longevity and for life. So I like to work out intensely using a type of HIIT training. And my preference, because I'm a former fighter, I love to hit the bag intensely for 3 minutes, take a minute off, hit the bag hard for 3 minutes, just like boxing back in the day. Or I like to use kettlebells. I love kettlebells. They can really get your heart rate up, they can get your breathing up. And so I start with a base of low intensity, steady state cardio, and I add in HIIT cardio. But perhaps you are a HIIT cardio aficionado. Perhaps that's your bread and butter. Perhaps that's what gets you to the gym. You love it so much, you insane human. You love it. And so that's what gets you to the gym. Perfect. No worries. Do your HIIT training 2, 3, 4 times a week. If you're young enough, 4 times a week might be okay. That's a lot. But implement LISS training twice a week. Get out there and do brisk walks for an hour. Get out there and do some rucking. Do incline treadmills. Do some rowing. Do some elliptical. Work both aerobic pathways. Work your zone 2 cardio as well as your VO2 max or even zone 5 cardio. Work them all. Work all of those systems. Zone 5 is your super intense, hard aerobic exercise. And if you work out using HIIT training and you actually go after it, you're hitting zone 4 and zone 5. Most people don't ever hit that. They're usually, they're just not there. But if that's you, have at it. But you should implement some low intensity, steady state cardio as well. This is not an either or proposition. It is not a situation where you have to hate one and love the other. Dr. Brad Schoenfeld says this: HIIT training is effective, but it's not a magic bullet. You need to add in low intensity, steady state training. Or if you are a low intensity, steady state training aficionado, someone who loves to go out and jog for, I don't know why, 15 miles and, you're doing 40 miles a week, 50 miles a week, you know what? You're crazy too. And you should implement some high intensity interval training into your program. There's no way around it. Both of them have their place when it comes to fitness. Both of them have their place when it comes to a first responder being in peak condition. Yes, HIIT is overhyped. It absolutely is. LISS is undervalued by so many people today. Both of them have their place when it comes to physical fitness. So choose the one you enjoy. Choose the one you enjoy. Choose the one that gets you into the gym. Choose the one that you enjoy doing more. Focus on that one, but don't ignore the other one. Don't ignore a very important portion of your physical fitness. Some of you will ask, well, does weight training count as HIIT training? And the answer is probably not, because you're not working out intensely enough, and you are resting. So let's say your set takes you 30 seconds or 45 seconds, and then you're resting for 2 minutes. It's just not going to cut it. Weight training is weight training. Don't try to conflate the two. Weight training and strength training is here. Aerobic, cardiovascular training is here. And you should probably be implementing HIIT training and LISS training at the same, both. Implement both of them throughout your training cycle. Just to recap, LISS training, low intensity, steady state training, burns just as much fat, if not more, than HIIT training when volume is considered. And ultimately, the most important thing is experiment and find out what keeps you consistent. What keeps you consistent? Because let me tell you something. You could be the most psychotic HIIT training person in the world. And if you only go for a month and then you take the rest of the year off, it counts for very little. What keeps you consistent? What gets you into the gym? That is the most important thing. Consistency. What is consistently getting you to the gym? Because we have a calling. As a police officer and a firefighter, you have a calling. I have a son who loves the Marvel movies, the DC movies. We go to most of them. I enjoy some of them, don't enjoy others. But the one consistent thing behind it is these guys are superheroes, right? These superheroes, and they're always in good condition. They're always in good shape. And they train their bodies and they train themselves to protect others. Well, in a world that doesn't have superheroes, we have police officers and we have firefighters. We have first responders who are risking their life for other people. And I'd say that makes you a superhero. So you need to be training yourself. You need to be taking care of your body, building yourself up, making yourself strong, making your heart and lungs strong so that you can defend others and be the superhero that this world needs. So that's my message today. Are you Team LISS? Are you Team HIIT? What team are you? Drop a comment. Drop a comment in the comments below. Let me know. Are you Team HIIT? Are you Team LISS? Are you Team both? Where are you at? I look forward to hearing your experience. I look forward to seeing you. Maybe you disagree with me. I look forward to that. Just looking forward to engaging with you on this very important issue. Thank you for tuning in to First Responder Fitness. I am Carl Wimmer, reminding you to be good to yourself, be good to others, and as always, stay safe.